Good evening. You are tuning in to AWANI Tonight with me, Soraya Mia. A BN PAS alliance in Malacca not out of the picture, as Zahid says political cooperation in state election is yet to be decided. And we speak to youth activists calling for more efforts to improve political education. That's coming up. DAP will not accept Datuk Nur Hizam Hassan Bakti to contest under its banner in the Malacca state election next month. The Pangkalan Batu incumbent won the seat in the 2018 general election when he was a DAP member.
Saya nak dengan tegas menyatakan DAP tolak semama sekali YB Pangkalan Batu sebagai calon dalam pilihan raya negeri yang akan datang. Saya tak mau sebutlah, saya hanya sebut ini saja. Dah cukuplah. Tak payah pergi kepada asal-usul ni. Semua faham.
Nur Hizam was sacked from DAP over his involvement in the collapse of the Pakatan Harapan government in March 2020. He subsequently threw his support behind the new Umno-led administration as independent. Nur Hizam pulled a similar move earlier this month when he and 3 other state assemblymen withdrew their support for Datuk Sri Sulaiman Mat Ali as chief minister, triggering a snap election that will be held on November 20th. It was previously reported that the 4 assemblymen who withdrew support for the state government are seeking to contest under the Pakatan Harapan banner. Umno President Datuk Sri Ahmad Zahid Hamidi alluded that he is not closing the door completely on his party's political cooperation with PAS or Bersatu in the Malacca state elections. The Bagan Dato' MP said the final decision will be made after Umno and BN Supreme Council members have met.
UMNO dan BN bekerjasama dengan mana-mana pihak belum diputuskan secara resminya. Maka jangan ada spekulasi daripada mana-mana penganalisis politik untuk menelah di manakah pendirian UMNO dan BN di dalam dalam PRN Negeri Melaka ini.
He said the meetings between UMNO and BN Supreme Council members will take place next week or a date before the nomination day. The Council on Malaysia Agreement 1963 or MKMA 63 agreed to propose amendments to the federal constitution that would return Sabah and Sarawak back to a position of equal status. According to Minister in charge for Sabah and Sarawak Affairs, Datuk Sri Dr. Maximus Ongkili, the current proposed amendment is different from the one proposed by the Pakatan Harapan government in 2018. Ongkili said the bill to amend Article 1.2 and Article 162 of the Federal Constitution would redefine the meaning of federation. This would set the status of all states in Malaysia in line with the Federation of Malaya Agreement 1957, Malaysia Agreement 1963, and the position after Singapore's exit in 1965. The proposal was tabled by de facto Law Minister Datuk Sri Wan Junaidi Tuanku Jaafar, who also heads the MKMA 63's Equal Status Working Committee. On October 2nd, Wan Junaidi had promised that Putrajaya would table a bill in Parliament to reinstate the rights of Sabah and Sarawak within 100 days. As we anticipate the implementation of Undi 18 by year-end, education on matters pertaining to the Constitution is crucial. Youth empowerment advocate Marcella Ling says political education not only helps to solve problems of apathy among youth, it also prepares emerging voters to make informed decisions in charting the future of the country.
Because we all have the direct access to a lot of different informations. So sometimes some people, they only allow themselves to be open to certain perspective. So which lead to them standing in only one perspective of what politics and also what education and democracy is about. So we know that this kind of things is happening, like they view politics such as dirty, corrupted, kleptocracy, gerontocratic, and also they see that politics is also about the old people arguing in parliament about who's good and who's better, like who's not good and who's not suitable to be all this kind of stuff. So they tend to only focus on this side, which doesn't make them to open their eyes to the good side of what politics is all about, what politics is actually about. Yeah. And it somehow led to the helplessness of the young people, and as well as people who don't believe in the democracy and political reformations. So, which led to the hopelessness of political reformations for a better Malaysia.
16-year-old Marcella also urged for more freedom for political expression among the youths.
18 years old is actually already an age when you need to enter university and stuff. So when there's some general election coming on, of course you need to talk about it with your friends and also with the people in your university. So I still believe in the abolishment of AWKU 1971, which is the University and University Colleges Act 1971, right? Because in the name of peaceful administrations, AWKU is very important, right? But I think this is just an excuses, because which political party do people support and why do they support this kind of political party is no longer should be a taboo topic, because only 18, which means 18 years old will start to vote, right? But instead, all of this discussion is actually a good opportunity for young people to be able to grow and also learn and also find a common ground to strive for a better Malaysia. So if AWKU is continue to be implementing among the youth in university, I think it will be one of the biggest hurdle for young people to freely and be wise in making decisions and also in voicing out their opinions.
The government has agreed that the lowering of the voting age from 21 to 18, along with automatic voters registration, will be implemented by December 31st. We'll take a short break. Stay with us.
Ayuh keluarga Malaysia, kita bulatkan tekad dan bersatu hati untuk terus memelihara serta mempertahankan kedaulatan negara. Sebagai keluarga Malaysia yang besar, kita harus bertoleransi dalam semua perkara. Hormat menghormati serta mengekalkan perpaduan rakyat yang berbilang kaum, agama dan bangsa serta integrasi nasional silang budaya adalah tunjang kekuatan kita sebagai sebuah negara bangsa yang berjaya. Umpama selembar benang dikait, ditenun dan dijalin, akhirnya menjadi kain yang sempurna indah.
Welcome back. As Budget 2022 draws nearer, many worry about the introduction of new taxes and what form they may take. We asked KPMG's Executive Director of Corporate Tax, Nicholas Chris, if new taxes can be introduced without too many negative repercussions to the country, still reeling from the impacts of the pandemic.
Then something like GST or VAT has in many countries proven to be a very successful mechanism for raising revenue. Now, I know Malaysia had GST until relatively recently, admittedly only for 3 years. But I think to some extent, GST was perhaps understood. People thought as though that they were being hard done by. GST or VAT has proven to be very effective. It's a very timely tax in that you typically collect it when people are spending, so they have the cash to pay the tax. It's also efficient in that businesses act as the tax collector for the government. So it's quite an economic tax. Unfortunately, I think in Malaysia, the timing at which it was originally introduced was maybe not ideal. So one option would be to relook at introducing GST.
While it may not be the right time to introduce GST, Nicholas says the current sales and services tax is too limited in scope.
SST at the moment is a more simplistic tax. It is a single level tax, typically paid by either the manufacturer or the service provider. and there's no form of credit mechanism. Whereas GST is a more complex tax because it has a credit mechanism. But it means that the actual amount of tax collected is larger because it's imposed as the value moves through the chain. GST, the footprint or the reach of the tax is much wider as well. So you're taxing bigger amounts and you're taxing more products. The SST is a very limited scope tax. It only covers things that fall within the specific scope of sales tax or service tax.
Singapore today began quarantine-free entry for fully vaccinated passengers from 8 countries. The city-state is moving to ease more restrictions as it gears up to live with COVID-19.
In September, Singapore had opened travel lanes for vaccinated passengers from Brunei and Germany. Starting Tuesday, the scheme has expanded to another 8 countries: Britain, Canada, Denmark, France, Italy, the Netherlands, Spain and the United States. While a travel lane with South Korea is scheduled to start on November 15th. Under the policy, passengers will not have to quarantine if they have been fully vaccinated and tested negative for COVID before they depart and on arrival.
The spread of COVID-19 among children in England is fueling a recent rise in cases nationally. This has caused concerns that vaccines are being rolled out in schools too slowly. Cases in Britain as a whole are much higher than in other European countries and are rising.
A recent survey found that 8% of secondary school children are infected with COVID, highest since January. Vaccination rates for the 12 to 15 age group in England are also lagging behind many European countries. Last month, Britain recommended that children in the age group should be offered the vaccine to help reduce disruption to their education. While the rollout to 16 and 17-year-olds began in August, the school term had restarted for 3 weeks in England by the time the rollout to 12 to 15-year-olds had begun.
Myanmar's junta released hundreds of political prisoners today as promised by leader General Min Aung Hlaing yesterday. The junta had promised amnesty to more than 5,600 people on humanitarian grounds. Visuals show buses carrying them leaving Yangon's notorious Insein prison. Those freed so far are said to include former MPs and journalists, but not National League for Democracy leader Aung San Suu Kyi. She has been detained since the February 1st military coup. The amnesty was announced following ASEAN's decision to ban Min from an upcoming regional summit, a move that has added to Myanmar's diplomatic isolation. Japan officially kicked off its election campaign. More than 1,000 candidates will compete for 465 seats in their lower house in a campaign that will last for 12 days.
The ruling coalition led by the Liberal Democratic Party under new Prime Minister Fumio Kishida has set a target of keeping its majority, but a poll conducted by public broadcaster NHK shows support for the ruling party easing this week to 38.8% from 41.2% last week. Kishida's party is still expected to retain power, but with fewer seats. Japanese voters will be focused on key issues pertaining to revitalizing the economy and the COVID pandemic. In his campaign, Kishida has promised to spread the benefits of economic growth more widely.
Tennis world number 1 Novak Djokovic may not compete in the coming Australian Open. He revealed recently that he is unsure of going to Melbourne to play the first Grand Slam of 2022. The state of Victoria, where the event takes place in Melbourne, introduced a vaccine mandate for professional athletes. Authorities have yet to clarify what the requirement will be for those coming from abroad. The 34-year-old Serbian ace did not reveal whether he has been vaccinated against COVID-19, saying it is a private matter. That is all we have for you on AWANI tonight. Get the latest news updates on COVID-19 and COVID-19 vaccines from astroawani.com and Astro AWANI app. I'm Saraya Mia. Thank you for watching and we'll see you soon.